Hyper-Aware of a Spiritual Realm by E.N.E. Chapter 6. Nature. The woodlands have been my home my whole life. My first word I ever said was moon, at least from what I'm told. I wanted to work in some kind of wildlife career when I was little. I had an obsession with wildcats. I wanted to go to Africa. I would bring nature journals on walks and write down every animal I saw. I would stay up all night with my cat as she gave birth to her first litter of kittens. In some ways, my obsessions probably became too intense, but as I've mentioned in previous chapters, anything that brought a sense of happiness was so important to me. Of course, I became obsessed. As I got older, I began to simply be inspired by the beauty of mountains, fields, wildflowers, and the art it all was. I loved the ocean deeply and never ceased to be in awe of the moon after so many years. I believe my love for photography completely stemmed from my love of nature. I must have been about 10 when I was given my first hand-me-down little digital camera. I remember keeping it tucked away in my little leopard print purse, probably alongside my Game Boy and a package of bubble gum, along with a little MP3 player and pink earbuds. I remember loving to climb trees, as you always should when you're a kid. I think spending so much time out in nature also inspired me to write little stories. My imagination ran wild when I spent hours outside. Sometimes the woods looked just like a jungle or rainforest in the summer, and I would pretend our pool was a lake or river. As I became a little bit older and entered my teens, I found my new love for orchids. I also fell in love with the blooming trees in the springtime, and I would write stories and songs about them. I had been a tomboy pretty much my whole life, but this was the first time I would love wearing my favorite dresses and take little artsy pictures of me outside. I became obsessed with drawing pictures of starry night skies and moonlight. Whether I would go on a road trip to a place in the middle of the desert or the shoreline of the ocean, I found beauty in it all. In the place I grew up, there were flowers everywhere. A rushing creek, deep woods filled with owls and deer, and a hill that would be speckled with buttercups every year when it was first warm enough. Nature gives infinite inspiration, and it is creation in the fullest sense of the word. The scent of petrichor and the sound of the rain falling, the crickets chirping when darkness sets in on a midsummer's night, the way the sunlight hits with a certain unique glow in July, rabbit clover caressing the hillside. Countless times have been spent trying to capture it all with a camera. The trilliums in early spring growing from a mossy bed, rushing water reminding everyone that the earth is waking up and coming to life again. The changing color of the leaves in the tamarack trees in the autumn, the smell they give off after they fall to the ground for sleep once again. And when the first snow comes, the air has a distinct frosty nip, filled with a deep breath of cold oxygen. I still remember being 11 years old, sitting in an igloo my big siblings made, holding candles in the dark, and how it felt like one of the most magical nights of my life. I try to remind myself of magical winters because only within a few years I would go on to suffer seasonal depression. It's important to remember small moments that give a glimpse of what has happened and what could still be possible. I've struggled a lot in my adult years with not enjoying Christmas anymore. It's actually a very painful time of year for me. I know a lot of people can relate, and I'm sorry if you do. I think now I try to see the beauty or artistry even in the things that feel very dark. I can appreciate gloomy days more now because I'm not as scared of feeling melancholy as I used to. I try my hardest to feel fully and deeply instead of always turning to numbing behaviors. Nature can be beautiful whether everything is dying and going to sleep for a long while, or when there's color again and warm, vibrant days. I always feel God's presence in a special way when I'm wandering through creation. One of the hardest parts about getting sick was not being able to go on long walks like I used to. I will say, though, it makes me appreciate it so much more now when I can. I almost can't explain how sacred it feels. I would say a lot of ways I'm still able to connect with nature now would be pressing and drying flowers, sitting outside in the morning with a blanket and coffee, taking Polaroids or little videos, and even recording nature sounds, crickets, falling rain, croaking from frogs in the early spring, owls hooting in the middle of the night, the wind blowing through the trees and the creaking of wood. I also love to keep flowers from the garden in my room as long as possible to enjoy the fragrance as well as the beauty. Sometimes I feel like fresh lavender and chamomile have brought me some of the most relief and a sense of grounding in the midst of chronic anxiety. I still remember the first time I saw the Northern Lights, which had been a dream of mine for years. I remember the first time I saw an owl sitting in a tree. So many significant moments seemed to be simply witnessing the natural world. I remember walking on the hill where I live with my nieces and nephew when they were little, and every one of us found an antler. I remember once, when I was about 18, my friends, family, and I watched a huge thunderstorm together. The power went out for a while, and afterwards the sky lit up with a pink glow that illuminated the yard and trees outside. Creation offers infinite inspiration. Whether it's exploring an underground cave or getting lost on a trail in the mountains. In so many ways, it's helped me feel so much more creative to be getting lost in the world. I've always felt that I process my feelings the best when I'm on a walk, with the trees, and the only sounds are birds singing, whirring cicadas, rustling wind in the branches. The scent of the earth and giving off a fragrance no perfume could ever capture. I remember how I used to take musical instruments outside and play them because there's no feeling like it. The earth, the music, and yourself is a heaven I can't explain. It has always brought me closer to my own soul. There have been countless walks where I have felt the urge to pray and surrender everything to God all over again. There's a longing each year to hear the bird song of a Swainson's thrush, the sound of waves crashing on the shoreline of the ocean, and smell of salty sea air filling your very soul with a calm I can't describe. There are so many countless things that could be said and felt simply by living on the very earth we call home, at least in these bodies we have. Everything is beautiful, and yet everything is decaying. The world is stunning, and it can also be a dangerous place to be. Creativity and storytelling is everywhere. We can't escape it. It's as if we've been handwritten and watercolored into very existence. A quote by Sarah Kroger. Is it okay to feel you more in nature than inside church buildings? He is still good.